Thank you, Jasleen. Just a few corrections. So it's Harmeet Singh Issar and Oracles. And thank you for having us here to talk about this whole thing about what urban landscape is through the eyes of we all who've seen it in a particular way. So I'll not be focusing only on Aerocity, but I would generally be talking about the way we look at urban landscape, and then Harmeet would take a closer look at the Aerocity lighting. May I have the presentation, please? Yeah, so we are talking about how the city looks out into how the city is looked through the window, and how do we view the city as landscape architects, and therefore what are the incursions that we are able to do inside. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, so when we look at urban landscape, what we are typically talking about is first the setting of that place that we are building in. What is the natural setting? What are the natural parameters that govern it? And what is therefore the resultant culture that has developed into that natural space? And how would urbanity then take off? And what would be the insert that a landscape architect would put into kind of bind this natural and cultural haven into a right kind of urbanity. So the kind of narratives that we talk about in urban landscape, how we think when we are brought on to design the public realm, is about firstly how this could be an opportunity to bring in nature in albeit a stylized format, as a slice of nature into the city, so that it can be celebrated, because pure nature is of course there, it's all around. But then how do we heighten it? How do we focus on it? How can this public realm become egalitarian? How can it be inclusive? That's another aspect of design that we look at. Whenever we are talking about a public realm, it's quite crucial to ensure that there is a landmark value generated out of it. People are able to associate with it. One is able to orient in it. There is legibility. There is a sense of placemaking and imageability into that slice of landscape. Another thing that we hold quite important is the way we symbolically relate to the city and its culture through the open spaces that we're talking about. And yet another narrative is that in most urban projects we see that these are brownfields, and there are lots of aspects and events around it which are not designed for each other. So can landscape serve as a glue? Can it be an integrator that can bind the aspects together through the nature of landscape, that one of its virtues is to be able to flow through? So how can we do that? Landscape is also about traversing, about connecting parts of the city, and in that traverse there is an opportunity. So we look at that opportunity, and of course the key binding element in all this is that yes, these have to be sustainable, these have to be resilient, and most importantly very, very robust, because it's going to be used by the city. So when these thoughts, when these philosophies come together in planning and the way we design, so we look at how the siting of these areas and the way they relate to surroundings can build up a kind of shape and form of landscape. And the peculiar response of every situation in terms of its tangible aspects and outcomes, as well as the intangible thoughts around a space, which can determine what special values it can embody. Based on this, one derives some kind of ordering principles, some kind of geometries, some kind of modulation of scale and organization that again sets this apart from the surrounding development, so that it can be seen as a special piece. And of course, then there is the attitude that we hold towards the components of design itself, the way we deal with land, the way we deal with vegetation and water, and the way we look at resources, the urban ecology, cultural tradition, and economics. So, very interestingly, the field that we are all looking at today is very special in one sense, that it combines three very different streams. The stream of earth sciences and life sciences, because landscapes live, and therefore there is a science to it, there is a sustainability to it. The way we live our lives in cities, in landscapes, so naturally there is a cultural tradition, there is a history associated with it, and each space speaks volumes about itself and what it has gone through as a transition and what it could project itself as. And then, of course, there is engineering and technology and design that integrates these virtues together and creates a space. So these are some of those some of those aspects that we look at when we invigorate ourselves to be able to take on a project which is in the public realm. And art plays a major role in it, and these are the inspirations which help us to generate patterns which we see in everyday life, because of light, because of shade, because of movement of water, wind, the way ephemera grows within rocks, and the way leaves decay, and so on. And then we get to the brass tacks as to how to really come across and think about it, how to design. And this is where our journey really binds the thoughts to the outcomes, and that's why I say thoughts become places. So some of the works that we're talking about, and Aerocity being one of them, as Jasleen just said. So this is one of the urban traverses which we did in Gurgaon to bind to integrate certain areas within the cyber city through elevated gardens. So these are skywalks, and as you see, there are themes which are exploring different geometries, which are exploring different kinds of formats in which a traverse could be organized. And these patterns always relate to something, maybe about the striations of a rock, the flow of a river, sometimes the straightforwardness of progression. And that's how the space ultimately turned out. It became a public hangout for people who would come out during the lunch hours and make a beeline to the cyber hub from the various buildings around. And there was a layer of seasonality brought in by these plants therein, and you see that one is able to feel nature high up in the sky there. The walks are also comfortable, being shaded and being sort of a microclimate built in because of the plants and because of the light and shade played on. And then the night scene, where some of these elements are brushed through light strokes, and then they become highlighted. So certain traverses, more urban traverses, how we look at binding tradition and culture together in these urban traverses. Now we come to this hospitality district of the Aerocity, which was a large team effort with international master planners and Indian architects, and then we were the landscape architects, and there were service and structure consultants, and it was a large team. And the idea was that while all the properties, all the hotels here were all done up, and they each had their own unique style within each of the plots, the public realm was something which was ignored. So the idea behind this project was to integrate the public realm and provide a public space for people who may not have anything to do with the hotels per se, but would engage in shopping around, would use the metro station, and would be walking out of the hotels. So these very so to say how should I call it, very glitzy streets, which went with the image of the dynamic flight which was all around because of the airport and the kind of gentry one was expecting in these hotels, that gave it this kind of a form. And each and every space was creatively used. For example, the pictures that you see on the right, that's a flyover, that's a underpass actually, road bridges across, and those kind of trees have been created to hide those bulky concrete columns. And the entire retaining wall of the area is done up with a waterfall, which helps in generating a backdrop for this small space, which houses kiosks and jostles with people trying to hobnob with each other. And you can see myriad lighting effects that also throw across very interesting moods. Some more of that, the streets and the lighting, the transitions between one space to another, the way we enter one and exit out of the one realm and enter the other and create a particular an interesting transition. The way we come across the scale of these spaces and how it is modulated with elements that come closer to you sometimes and sometimes form large backdrops behind. And of course, a lush gamut of planting which takes care of the day when you are in these spaces. Streetscapes within Aerocity. So these are some of the streetscapes that I'm talking about, Aerocity and others. So this is one of the iconic junctions where the experience starts, and this fountain with its different lighting effects and mist effects creates a changing mood at several times, followed by the first outlet, which is supposed to be a restaurant with this canopy, and this canopy also changes color with time. And the streets, as you see, have all the inclusive elements built into those, and world standard crossovers, and the way everything is well appointed within those streets. Some more of that, and layered planting. These are more streetscapes. This is a private development, DLF5 in Gurgaon, and here again the idea was to create an iconic loop road that connects the condominiums and have landmarks wherever the turnings were, and create special points of interest for people to kind of make memorable events. This is one in Calcutta on the left, which is coming up, and on the right is another streetscape in Punjab, which starts from a gate within a gated complex, and then the street within. These are some of the parks that are really slices of nature in the city, and here you would see a lot of symbolism being picked up, a lot of traditional way in which robust material is used in nature, and how it finds its way into a high-end park, and this sacred grove, and these bridges, so the meadows, the lagoon, the walks which are ingrained within these planted crevices. So another park in the city for the National Highways Authority, where their office is, and this also talks about a narrative of natural patterns, taking the course of the journey of a river as an inspiration, and builds up a nice narrative here. These are more parks and memory spaces of memory actually, and you see that a lot of symbolism is used here as a victory tower, as a gateway, some spaces for installation of art and sculpture displays, the idea of how a flower could orient itself as a space for gathering people, as an amphitheater, a lake which was created out of a garbage dump, which was a low-lying area, and an entire ecosystem was set in there. Some of these dry streams and stuff to enable permeable surfaces and water recharge. Some more pictures of that. Tradition within gardens. The way we look at the English tradition in gardens, and the idea of iconicity in semi-public realm when it comes to corporate, the idea of putting patterns and iconic feel because of the way we look at symbolizing small hills and raising this tree on top of giving it a respect to place it on top of this. So some such narratives into this IT park. These are pictures showing how an indoor-outdoor continuum is created between the public realm inside and outside, and symbolically how hills are looked at as these steep mounds, very sharp-edged mounds within, which also become very interesting spaces for surfaces for lighting, and the tradition of ghats carried on through such open spaces where public can walk through the straight levels and sit around and lounge around these steps. A very iconic fountain which has become a favorite place for people to hang around in one of the malls in Delhi. So some cultural landscapes that talk about very intense philosophical narratives to carry through public realm in a way. So I think I would now end that, and just a small example of the airport which is being redone, the Terminal 1 which is right now being built, and we had conceptualized the spaces here to talk about the flow of Delhi's terrain and the way this flooring pattern itself presents a flow of how the ridge and the Yamuna contours are, and how these kiosks and eateries are looked on as boulders, and the columns that support the canopy above are looked on as trees by adding vegetation on that, and that's how this public space builds in ideas of the riverine islands, the ridge, the lakes on the ridge, Aravalis, and all that symbolism built in, and that's how we look at the urban landscape. I'll now invite Harmeet to add his color and layer of let him electrify these spaces.
Thank you. So I guess we are running very late, so I am going to do it very quickly. If he gives me my slide, to all of us and all of you as well, is do we really own the night? Because this is something which is very important aspect of lighting, which we are going to see, and landscape being one of the very relevant places to talk about. So this is something which is I would say literally as well as metaphorically, both the sides of it. Although this presentation was designed to be 45 minutes, so I will go very quickly. Fear, stress, loneliness, anxiety, calm, joy. This is what we asked about 300 odd people and tried to find out what do they think about it. And this is a real 320 people who said this. And it was very interesting. A lot of people said calm. Night being calm. Now the next thing, another questions which we asked was that, I'm just restricting the things. We also saw that almost people who said moon, stars and dark, they had very limited negative emotions towards it. Those are the numbers which are showing after the 320. This was very interesting finding for us as we try and make spaces, landscape spaces brighter and brighter and brighter. Somebody asking for 30 lux on the streets, although the standard says 15 and 10. So all that this is something which is very important to study. These are 320 people. 100 is a valid for survey. Amardeep should be here. He could second it. Yeah, but it's about 320 people who said that. Then this is very simple question. I would ask all of you to raise hands. Who's seen Milky Way with a naked eye? Just look at the hands. And the younger ones haven't. The younger ones haven't. So this is something which is very important to think about. This is a very, very famous picture. Everybody will find it, but it's relevant. What is here is this is a massive power break which happened, and Todd Castellan took this image. This is what during the electricity being there, and that's what when the electricity was not there. Just imagine what we are missing, what we are just getting away from. I went back. Yeah, that's another thing. So you see, 96 only have seen Milky Way, and that's those are the numbers. Again, I'll skip to that. This was fun. We asked also to these 320 people, what does the night sky look like to them, color of the night sky? And this is the answer we got. Black to this all colors. And some of them we all can connect. Yellow, you remember by the sodium vapor, what you see from the aircrafts and a lot of the cities. White, of course, you can see that. Blue, yes, agreed. Black also, some people, old people, most of them, because they have seen black skies, we haven't. Sorry, I'm also old. Okay, so this is one more interesting thing which is there. We asked them, brighter outdoors make them feel safe? Yes, a lot of people said yes, which is something where lighting designers have to fight for and now discuss these things, because that's virtually, we all, especially the lighting specialists, know that it's not true. This is another example of showing, I've stolen these images from various websites, so these are not mine. Both the images are same. All we are doing is removing the glare by putting a hand on that. So how you see, the brighter spaces are not just safe spaces. It's not true. This is, this is something which we need to study and explain people, each other, all of us, very, very relevantly. The glare is important to get rid of. You have to see, the cameras are always aping eyes. This is the camera which is doing it. What is happening is the contrast, everything it sets because it's the brightest spots. That's the camera doing it. And eye also does that. Same thing. Because cameras are actually trying to copy eyes. That's what it is. So that's a good example to see. So what you're seeing there is suddenly when you put a brightest spot aside, you start seeing more. And you can try this anytime, anywhere. You can walk on any street, anywhere in India specifically. You will like to see this, and you'll very easily see this. Enough lighting is facing your eyes and throwing bright spots like these ones. Anyways, next. Oops. This is another image. Sorry. Oops. Okay. So this is another image. I don't know why do we have to go so tall. I don't know. Even by going that tall, we are not able to light. It's a very common scenario. You walk on streets, you will see this. And also what you forget is on these kind of streets, you are also leaving those dark patches. I can hide behind and shoot you if I have to. So these are pretty good examples of where we are going wrong. All of us need to study more and more and work towards it. That's where the lighting designer comes in and hire us, right? So the big question, we all have heard about urban sky glow, but there is more to it. There is a lot of research which is saying that. I don't want to take up too much of bit of it onto it. These are the people or nocturnal world which is getting affected as well. Sea turtles, bees, birds, bats, plants, coral reef, human beings. Yes, 1/3 of our food is actually needs what is called pollination and pollination agents, and which is what, if they are not there, we can't get food. So the larger repercussion is there. More and more studies are there. I'm not the guy, but there is enough published. Google it, find it, and some other forums to talk about it as well. This is another question which we asked. White and yellow, a very, very common discussion. 132 people answered in this, and a lot of them said white and not yellow, which we lighting designers, it's a very interesting thing because we keep on saying yellow and we know it is truth, but we need to educate. This is what we learned, is that we need to tell more and more people why do we use yellow and why do we not, why do we go against white. Okay, This is another role we play. What I'm saying is keepers of night, which is also a lighting designer's job, as in when we look into these kind of spaces, which are public spaces, when we are suddenly out in the world and trying to compete or trying to do something which is going to affect various other things which we understand, and that's another things which I don't know if we are all, I love these, and we had a good discussion yesterday, but I don't know if some of our children will ever be able to perceive what it is. Getting back to the real topic, master planning of the Delhi, India, dial Aerocity. These were the objectives. Take the pictures, read it later, because we don't have a lot of time. What it was important is we followed a very interesting theory given by Kevin Lynch, very simply, which is decide district, edges, paths, pathways, nodes, and landmarks. That's how we divided the entire Aerocity into, and that's how we worked. And some of the images which you will see, there is a district, lighting controls never happened, budgets, controls never happened, light fixtures are there, no controls is happening there, only switching on and off in the evening and morning. That's what happens. Then pathways, nodes, landmarks, edges, some images. These are our sketches which we receive from landscape consultants, urban planners, and then we sketch on it. These are our sketches for various, some of them you will be able to connect with Suneet's presentation, and I will show you some better pictures because I am a lighting designer. I try to hide and not bring the glare into eyes and take those pictures. This is the road lighting. It looks much better. These are my phone images. That's some more. So what is important is, if you see on the right hand side, that is the achievement, what we wanted to achieve. There is a little bit of blue sky, and you see how the light is not spilling upwards. The first, one of the strongest tender requirement was for all the lighting manufacturers, some of them are here who fought with me, that you are not going to tilt more than 5 degrees. It's allowed to tilt 10 degrees also, but you will not be, as a tender requirement, we told them the light fixture has to be, in fact, I want the light fixtures to be, all the light fixtures to be like this. So that was very important. And what you get is, when you imagine you're staying at the Pullman on the top and then looking down on the streets, this is what you can achieve. So not only thinking from the point of view of who's the pedestrian is, what is happening, but that's also, and also it's just besides the airport. So it was, nobody told us to do that, but we are aware that we should not spill too much. That's because it also kills the contrast between what is happening at the air traffic lights and everything. It's difficult. This is another thing which a tunnel which was connecting this Aerocity, which is again a paths. So we insisted about having a linearity rather than having flood lighting onto it, and it is doing two jobs. This is a very basic fixture, has barely any optics in it, but what was important is we needed a volumetric lighting in this. That is what we needed. It was purposely done. What was important was being there but still lighting the wall. The wall was the feature all around, and it was most important to us as a design, and that's what we wanted to do. And it's a very, very, very basic picture, light fixture, hardly any optics, but it does the job. And we saved almost about 5 crore rupees in this tunnel itself. Fought with Philips, Schneider, everybody. Then comes the focal points. Some of them, they were designed like this. One of the images, what you saw of the water body with Suneet's presentation, actually there was a sculpture there, but then the water body came in, and that looks like this. So my photographs are a little better, I guess. So it's because I set the contrast and put it right. So this is what it is. These are the again planned by oracles. The in between the assets, there are spaces where you saw a floral pattern, which was in one of the images. The further part of that is this, which is here. These are the trees, and please forgive me, those yellow lights are not for me, those are for plants. They think they will grow them, they never grew. As I always keep on, discussing with Suneet sir also, that in the other project in the Hyderabad airport also, I was asked how much light is enough to let the green wall grow. And Amardeep has done some research. I've used the 4000 Kelvin, but I don't think it'll grow. I don't think it'll grow. No, I have taken your advice of 4000 Kelvin, but I know the intensity is not going to be more than 1000 lux, and it's not going to grow. These are some better images, and all the light fixtures failed in one go because the auto body failed. And that's what you saw with Suneet, some of them not working because the controls were not. These were not underwater fixtures. We saved a lot of money and by not doing that, but the water body failed and then they became underwater and all of them failed. So that's what, this is the day it failed. Because I was there, I was taking photographs, and suddenly I saw all the water came into the piazza because the drainage failed. And all the light fixtures were underwater. Almost about 2 crore rupees of equipment spoiled, and that's the image what you get, what you saw with Suneet's presentation. Half yellow, half white, something. More of it. Some more. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to encase this place. This is under the underpass actually, and we wanted to make this place completely like filled with color as a backdrop, and there are a lot of things were happening, and this is something. Edges, as we talked, we did a lot of work in Aerocity itself. There were a lot of properties which we have designed as well. There is one of the properties which is Ibis Hotel, which is also designed by us. When we commissioned, it looked like this. There was interestingly, the client was unable to spend this money to do this projection, this Martin expensive fixtures. Some of the lighting designers agreed to it, and what they did was they passed it as an art piece, because there is a mandate of 1%, I guess, or something, which is there. And I have been left with 5 minutes. There is a very beautiful mandir, again the landmarks, what we call. There is it's a Sankat Mochan Mandir, which was first built in the Aerocity. This was the first building which was built, Vayu Mandir, because of airport and thing. Some of it was executed the way I am showing, and some of it is working anyways. That's then we also did another landmark, which is World Mark 1, 2, 3. These are the assets. After doing the Aerocity planning, some before that and some after that, we did some of them, but we were always thinking through what various architects, landscapists, because multiple of them were working on it, so how to tie them together, and it's come out okay, which is what these are some of the images. That's the water body inside the world mark. Yeah, so what do we go through? In another time, when we have more than 15 minutes, then I can talk about this. So these are some of the aspects which we discuss very often: color, temperature, color, light, glare, glitter, vandalism, energy, skill gradation. These were all part of this project itself, fighting from budgets to engineers not wanting to do controls because it was too complicated to maintain, and as well as the area initially was very vandal. I would say the vandalism was, even if you leave a brick there, somebody will take it. So that was another thing, but that's improved because of this build development. But still, they did not allow me to put some in-grounds because they were thought to be easily be stolen. So that was also a discussion. Energy, of course, and glare and glitter. This is interesting. Yeah, some of the times it was also felt it's dull because you were finding no light shining in your eyes. That was another interesting thing, which is what we. So, but these are what we do. This is what we do for living as a lighting designers. Try and figure out how to move around it and do things with it. That's my last slide. Thank you.